So as we move into the next question, this is going to be question 14 from 3.2. So again, since we're dealing with probability, again, to determine a basic probability that we're dealing with, which is also the classical probability, what we're focusing on basically is the number of outcomes in the event. So in other words, the desired outcomes divided by the total outcomes in the sample space. So that's how we can determine a probability. So we also have what's called the multiplication rule, or again, as we described, this is the AND rule. So if we see this word AND, it kind of tells us here, but there's basically two formulas here. So the probability of A and B happening is going to be the probability of A times the probability of B. This happens if they don't affect each other. They're independent of each other. And then we have the probability of A and B equals the probability of A times the probability of B, given that A has happened. So notice how probability of B is dependent upon the probability of A this, because the probability of A does affect the probability of B. So we have those two basic things going on. So question 14, a coin is tossed and an 8-sided die numbered 1 through 8 is rolled. Find the probability of tossing a tail and then rolling a number greater than 6. So notice how we have two events going on. We have tossing a tail and they're enrolling a number greater than 6. So notice how this is going to be the probability of A and B. And notice how flipping a coin and rolling a dice, they are totally different events. They don't affect each other. So basically, all I have to is identify the probability of A and multiply it by the probability of B. So A, I'm just going to call it the coin toss to start with. So the probability of this coin toss, what we're looking for is the probability of a tail. Well, we know there's one tail. That's our desired outcome. But there's only two samples in our outcome, and that's a head or a tail. So that's two outcomes there in our sample space. And then we multiply that by the probability of B. Well, the probability of B is rolling a number greater than 6. So greater than 6 means you have to have a 7 or an 8. So that's how there's two possible outcomes in our event. So two possible outcomes. And notice how it was an 8-sided dice. That means there's 8 numbers altogether that we are choosing from. So it's 2 out of 8. So basically, you notice how these twos would divide out. You have this 1 out of 8. 1 out of 8 is like 0.125. So that kind of turns into that. So again, if you just want to type in 1/2 times 2/8, that's fine. But you should still get like say what, 2/16 or whatever, 2 divided by 16. That should still give us this 0.125. So 0.125 there will be our probability for question 14. So notice how things we pick up on is, first off, that word and kind of tells us this is the multiplication rule. And since these two events are what we call independent of each other, then all you got to do is identify each probability and just multiply those two probabilities together. And I think a lot of times in your homework, you have to pay attention to rounding. So this one really didn't have to be rounded, so 0.125 would be our answer.